You can soothe and recalibrate your nervous system. You can do the money wound work while you are also taking action in a stall. And that's something that I kept doing. The actions were still being taken. Was it maybe as many at different times? No, but they were different. I had to shift my actions, but I was being called to. That's why it's a stall. Nobody talks about this part of success, the part that happens after the surge, after the biggest growth season of my entire business, after the podcast blew up, after the offers sold out, after the revenue jumped higher than I ever imagined. Everything got quiet. Not the peaceful kind of quiet, the kind of quiet that makes your stomach drop. I went from riding the highest wave of my career and my life to a kind of life truly that people dream about, the kind of screenshot worthy, oh my gosh, put Tiffany on the cover of magazine type of accomplishments, to suddenly watching everything slow down, my sales soften, my engagement go way down, and my momentum feeling like it evaporated overnight. And when you built something from scratch with zero audience, zero connections, and barely any tech skills to piece together a website, that silence hits differently. It doesn't feel like a pause, it feels like a warning. And I remember waking up thinking, is this it? Did I peak? Is everything I built about to fall apart? Because nobody tells you that success has seasons. Nobody tells you that after your biggest breakthrough often comes your biggest fear. This is the chapter where my business felt like I was stalling. But what I didn't know then was that this stall wasn't the ending. It was a recalibration, a timeline shift. It was the in between before a great quantum leap, the exact setup for the next level I couldn't see yet. Let's get into it. What up, my people, my posse, my fellow crazies? It's your host, Tiffany Carter, and this is the show that is going to help you grow your business, your bank account, that big, beautiful brain of yours, your mindset, your relationships, your abundance, and everything in between. So, this is the scariest chapter for me to share. Not that the other ones haven't felt vulnerable, but chapter 4 feels the most, I don't know, it makes me feel squidgy. That's the only word that I can think of. And what's kind of sad is it makes me feel squidgy because you don't hear entrepreneurs sharing the stall. They share it many years later when they're have a feature on Forbes, or when they're being interviewed on NBC, but you don't hear about it in close proximity, as in, oh, this was just 2 years ago. Oh, this was just last year. Or this was just last month. It's really rare, but my promise to you on here, my promise on my socials, Instagram, TikTok at Project Me with Tiffany, over on YouTube at Project Me TV, is to always keep it real, even if it's not flattering for me to share. Even when I would probably get more sales by not sharing certain things because they're not sexy. It's the opposite of fantasy marketing, but you deserve to know the truth. And those people who are truly attracted to being here with me, being inside my posse membership, working with me, listening to the show, you are a truth seeker and you can sniff out the bullshit and you appreciate it. And that's what's getting me to do this episode, even though I feel squidgy. Before I get into it, if you have not seen, I have the biggest Black Friday sale that I have ever done going on right now for my Project Me Posse business and money coaching membership. Let me explain to you what this is and what this isn't. What this is not is a bunch of information that's going to get you more overwhelmed that you're not going to use. And it's another thing that you have to do. And it's just going to spiral you out. And you're going to be mad at yourself because you didn't follow through in another thing. And now you're just going in more directions. That's not going to work. And that would never work on me. And that's why it's not designed this way. What it is we focus on income generating skills and building those skills over time, which builds the momentum so that you have the support and the accountability to follow through on implementing those skills. Because the more you put them into practice, the more you put them into action, the better you get at them and the more money you make. And then this happens in weekly live trainings with me. And then I bring in other special guest experts. Of course, you get a library of truly almost all of my courses, almost all of my master classes, live trainings, workshops, everything from how to blow up on TikTok. I spill the tea on that. How to create an email list from scratch and be able to have a high converting open rate regardless of the size of your email list, because I have a 57% open rate, which is incredibly high in the industry that I'm in. And I also include experiential things, which happens to be people's most favorite, where we are doing true calling in abundance, manifestation, deep money wound clearing work. And we combine both because both are needed. The strategy alone is not going to get you there. You've consumed a lot of information. How to post this, how to do this. You can go to AI now and get all of that. Number one, you don't know if it's actually accurate and works, but you can still go to Google University and go to other places for that. If that was enough, you would have already have a flourishing business, and so would so many other people. It's not enough because of what goes on internally, what goes on energetically, and we have to do both at the same time. So that's what it's all about. Right now, you're getting $50 off the first month, and you're getting over $2,800 in Lux bonuses, including my 90-day In the Abundance Zone guided journal. You are welcome. You're going to absolutely love that. And all you have to do is go to projectmewithtiffany.com/BF2025, projectmewithtiffany.com/BF2025. You can swipe up. That link is in the show notes. If you are someone who is looking for the fast track, you've already wasted enough time in trial and error. You've already tried doing group things and other stuff, and it's really not worked for you because you need more accountability. You need things customized for you and your business and how you operate. Then you want to work with me at my highest level, and that is by application only. And that is also accessible in the show notes, but it's not accessible anywhere else. Like, it is not in the link in my bio in my socials. So you need to definitely swipe up, access the show notes. You can also access it on YouTube by going into the description of this episode, and the live links will be in there. I remember when I noticed that the car was speeding down. You know, it was like I was in a Ferrari at high speed. And I would say of solid 2 years of it. Okay. And that feels really good. While I shared in chapter 3, it also comes with stuff, right? Success comes with things. There's a cost involved with everything. There's a cost in doing nothing. There's a cost in staying broke. There's a cost in hiding. There's a cost in shining. There's a cost in staying single. There's a cost in being married, right? And I shared that, but there's a period after you've had a surge in business. And keep in mind, I've been an entrepreneur for 18 years, grew 2 8-figure businesses in completely different business models and categories. And I've coached thousands and thousands of people in over 87 different industries at this point. And I can promise you, no matter what type of business, what niche you're in, what business model you're in, who you are, you can be a major celebrity. Not everything you touch is going to turn to gold, and you're not going to always be in the Ferrari. Cashing in, clocking at high speeds, engagement is popping. And let me tell you, it is a high ride. It's exhilarating. It's also scary, just like going full speed in a Ferrari. But at some point, things have to slow down. At some point, you're going to have to go into the pit crew and get fresh tires and get a tune-up. Sometimes you even need an engine change. Sometimes you need to have the entire car refabricated because it's just not working anymore. You outgrew it. And that's typically what happens. And I'm talking 99.9% of the time after you have a major growth surge like that. And I've seen it with my corporate clients and my other business that are multi-billion-dollar clients. I've seen it with top doctors that I work with. I've seen this with people that you're very familiar with that you see online, influencers. Everything goes in waves. And what was hot at one point is no longer hot, or the conversation has shifted, or the way people feel about certain things has shifted. The buyer psychology has shifted. But really, what it is that you shift. The amount that I changed in a 2 year period is insane because I'm someone who is always on a quest to better myself, to go deeper, to peel more layers of the onion in working through my trauma, in really strengthening my money mindset and my spiritual connections, and in doing all of that work. And so, how could my business possibly stay the same when I'm going through an identity shift? And I truly believe right now, those of us who are awake, those of us who do the work, those of us who are heart based entrepreneurs or have gifts and talents that you really want to monetize to help the greater good, but make a lot of money doing it, we are collectively going through a major identity shift. We are going through a quantum leap right now. That's why there's hundreds of thousands of you, in fact, even millions of you resonating with my content that I'm sharing on social media right now and on my insane episode I did of my biggest quantum leap of my life. If you've not listened to that, there's a before and after episode, several episodes back that you will really enjoy. And that's when it happened the first time. And I'm just going to kind of squeeze this in here a little bit just for context. But when I had to take my first business down by 90% because I was literally dying of burnout, like literally dying, I was that sick. And I was riding high. You know, I was in the Ferrari in that lane with that business. I hadn't started this yet. And I had this period. And let me tell you, it was the dark night of the soul, man. I was on my knees. I was, wow. I never want to fucking be there again. And that period had to happen in order for me to be in enough pain to say to myself, no more. I am not going to have a business model like that anymore. A business model where I'm serving everyone else, but I'm sacrificing myself. A business model that doesn't really give me energy. I'm giving so much. And what I'm receiving in exchange is breadcrumbs. And I was doing it to myself because of what I was taught of what you have to do to have sex. Have sex. Wow. This episode's getting really off to a juicy start. Well, I mean, it does apply to sex too, right? It's like giving more than you're receiving. No, thank you, honey. And that's what I was doing in that business because of what I was taught and what I was modeled and what society says about all the things around success. Well, it's not sustainable. And there's not just one way to do something. There's many ways to do something. And I was so miserable that I was forced to come up with a new way. I was forced to completely refabricate this car, this engine. You can't keep going at full blast all the time. It's not possible. And my pit stops, going with that analogy, my pit stops were me getting sick. It wasn't like I took proactive rest. It was reactive rest. And that's not resting, by the way, when you're sick. That's called being fucking sick. But I didn't know that either. That's the only time I gave myself permission. So now we fast forward, let's say 2018, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. So let's fast forward 7+ years, which kind of makes sense, you know, cycles of seven, cycle. I do feel there's a thing with sevens around, even in relationships, there's these cycles that occur, and you can look it up if you're really bored, but I'm not going to take time up to go into it here. And when this slowdown occurred, the check engine light wasn't quite coming on, but I could tell the car wasn't running as smoothly. It wasn't operating at top level. I was starting to see even other cars pass me. I got hints of this and I didn't like what I was seeing. And it was so uncomfortable. Who wants to slow down when you're on a high like that? And then on top of it, you attach that high to the dopamine surge of all of the views and all of the followers and all of the money and all the external shit. But it's how we level out. That's why there's yin and yang, right? That's why there's lightness and darkness. That's all part of it. You can't be a music artist and live at the top of the charts forever. And there's people who've broken records and have been at the top of the charts for like an entire year or something like that. But then it goes away and then they can come back again. You have to regroup. You're being forced to remodel, to recalibrate, to reposition in order for you to have your quantum leap again. And so that first quantum leap I had was insane. So having that in my evidence bank, knowing I've been through this before, you would think that would have made this period where I could tell it was a stall, where I could tell we got to go off into the pit crew. Okay. And by the way, I am just announcing for the first time ever, I've never offered a semi-private coaching container before. And I felt the timing was right. And that's also why I'm using the analogy in here because it's a perfect one. And it's called the Profit Pit Crew. And if you're in that spot in your business where you know things aren't working, the wheels are falling off the bus or they've already fallen off the bus, and you want to make sure that you recalibrate and set things up so that you're going to your next level. So you're doing it in a way that preserves your peace, that preserves your sanity, that is a match for the identity you're stepping into or you've already stepped into, and you're not operating out of your old identity and old business model. That is definitely the move for you. You can swipe up and apply to that. And I am giving $1,000 off for that program. And I'm only taking 11 people, by the way. So I'm giving $1,000 off as long as you submit your application before the deadline of December 2nd when this Black Friday sale ends. Obviously, you have to be accepted and you have to fully be enrolled in the program to get the $1,000 off. But swipe up. Every way to work with me right now is listed in the show notes. And if I'm not sure which one is best for me right now, then make some move. But just know the pit crew and working with me privately, those are the highest level ways to work with me. So please don't apply to those unless you are dead serious about going all in, because that comes with obviously a higher price tag. The posse is $3.33 a day. If you do the annual membership, it's like $2 and something a day. All right. And you can do the month to month or the annual option. So if that is what I make accessible to everyone. But if you want to fast track it and not fuck around and not waste any more time and energy, you have two other options available for you in the show notes. You can also DM me on Instagram at ProjectME with Tiffany and ask me any follow-up questions, and I'll steer you in the direction that I think is best for you as well. So that's an option. Don't DM me on TikTok. My DMs are insane on TikTok. And also, I don't want you DMing me and you end up DMing a scammer pretending to be me, because there's hundreds of people pretending to be me on that app. All right. And I'm verified on Instagram. So you are being in this period, and I've lost my train of thought, of course, and we will get back. We will come back on track. I'm going to keep going with this car analogy because I do think it's such a good analogy. And I'm trusting that if I'm off track because we're supposed to go to this spot. Normally, when I feel really vulnerable doing an episode, then I tend to lose my place in the episode, because now I want to stop this and re-record the whole thing. And I'm not going to. I'm going to keep going. So you better fucking tell me if you appreciate this episode and this conversation. Okay. Because that would really mean a lot to me. You can take a screenshot and tag me at Project Me with Tiffany. Share this with a fellow entrepreneur. Share this with someone who's in that season. They will really appreciate this entire story, but in particular, this chapter. The stall is the setup, motherfuckers. Okay. The stall is the magic. I know where I was going before. You would think I have in the evidence bank of knowing what the stall looks like before, because in my first business, when I had my first stall period, I was just stopped stopped at a certain income level. That forced me to get help. That was my problem many years ago. I was trying to do so much myself, too much myself. I thought that that meant I wouldn't be a good entrepreneur. If I had to hire someone to help me with my business, I should be able to figure it out myself. And that was my own issue. Then when I finally got out of my own way and got hooked up with he called himself, it was like an executive coach, I went from a quarter of a million a year to having my first $1 million year in that business within a 6 month period. Okay. And that's what I mean by quantum leaping. So I have this evidence bank of it. So you would think there would be a stall period. I was like, I'd be excited. Hey, this is recalibration time. I know what's on the other side of this because I've experienced this. I've coached God knows how many people through it. I've seen close friends and peers go through it. I have a lot of evidence to know that this is part of the game. I am an avid player of the stock market, and there's a lot of evidence in there of all different companies of how that works. But instead, I went into, because I was on such a high, oh my God, was that my peak? Was that it? Was that's like that was my best-selling song, like I'm as Tiff, a one-hit wonder. And then I went into behaviors. It brings up all your childhood shit. Welcome to entrepreneurship. It's next level therapy. I went into the childhood beliefs that are stored beliefs that I have in me that I have to consciously and subconsciously do work on regularly, which is I fucked up. I'm bad. I'm inherently flawed. I messed it all up. I'm going to get in trouble because that's what I was taught growing up. Everything was my fault and I was bad and nothing was ever good enough. And that is stored so deeply in my cells. It's a default setting of mine when I get into fear. And so that's where I started spinning. And because I started spinning in that spot and I thought I could get myself out of it, and that was not a good idea, and I was embarrassed I was even feeling that way, and I didn't want to talk to anyone about it because it's like, oh, poor Tiffany, multimillionaire, and her business is slowed down a little bit. Oh, wah, wah, you spoiled brat, which is also something I was called regularly growing up. And so I started calling myself that, which is called like the critical parent in your brain being raised by a narcissist. That's what happens. And I didn't even say anything yet to my therapist. It was like I didn't like having these thoughts. I was so scared. I didn't want anyone to find out because I'm a bad girl, and I wanted to assess everything. What did I do wrong? What happened? Well, can you imagine? I'm in that mindset and I'm in that energetic state. Do you think any content that I produced in that energetic state was going to captivate and compel people? I mean, it did a little bit, because I'd like to think I'm mildly entertaining and I'm still very helpful even at my worst state. But do you think it was really going to magnetize at that same level when you're operating out of I'm not good enough, I fucked up, what did I do? Everyone hates me. I must have done something wrong. Absolutely not. And so some of you might remember that I, for the first time this summer, I took a hiatus from social media. And it was a long hiatus. I think it was 3 weeks. And I've never done that. I've always made sure stuff was posted. I literally have not done that this entire time I had my business. I've done only a couple short podcast hiatus that were like 2 weeks at a time. Other than that, I've done 2 episodes every single week since I started in summer of 2018. So, number one, I earned the right to do that. It's not like I was 6 months into my business and I'm like, I'm taking a hiatus. It's like, okay, it doesn't work that way. I did earn that right. But also, when people say, oh, my business still runs, whether I'm working or not, okay, I'm not saying that they're not telling the truth. And I'm sure I've said a version of that. but you're not going to make sales if you don't have pieces of marketing going out while you're off doing something else. It's not like I batched content. I did batch podcast episodes, and I may or may not have batched emails. I can't remember. I think I did, at least like one a week. So it's not like I ghosted everybody, but I ghosted social media, which is an important part of my business. My main profit generators are my email and as my podcast, but still, that's a big part of the funnel is social media. But I had to do it. I had to pull off into the pit crew. I just happened to do it in luxuriating style, and I disappeared for 3 weeks to Europe. You know, just Florence, Lake Como, the islands of Greece. Like that was necessary. I needed that rest. I needed that time of recalibration. I needed to pour into myself. But you know what? I almost canceled that trip to punish myself. Who am I to go on a trip where every single night in these hotels? I mean, Europe in the summer is wildly expensive. It's like so inflated. It was like $2,500 a night. And well, because I also like want to stay in really super nice places. And by the way, there were places even nicer that were like 8 grand a night. That's how wild it gets. And I'm like, I shouldn't do that. My sales have slowed down. My engagement has slowed down, blah, blah, blah. I shouldn't be spending that money right now. I wanted to punish myself for Tiffany's bad. We're going back to that. That is the exact model with how I was raised, is constant punishment unless I was doing the dance of the narcissist. And those of you who have dated, married, have narcissists in the family, you know what I'm talking about. And that can change every day. And I started doing that to myself. Thankfully, I have a coach, I have a therapist, I have a couple really close people in my life that I shared that with instead of just acting on it. And they're like, you're fucking going. And my best friend always reminds me, she's like, bitch, you're rich. Like, you're going. Like, she has to remind me of that. And when she's saying that, I mean, yes, she does mean monetarily. Like, I do have millions stacked, but she's also meaning like, you're rich. Like you're a money generator, you're a master manifester, you're going to be okay. And I needed to be reminded of that. I needed to have things poured into me to remind me of who I am and what I'm doing and how I help people. I was truly gaslighting myself to the point of people are over me, people are sick of you. That's how sick this ego of ours can be to get us to literally disappear. This is why I understand why so many of you end up in a spiral and want to quit your business. Or maybe you've even gone to quit. Or maybe you're someone who puts your foot on the gas and then takes your foot off the gas, or any variety of those. I understand why that happens, because if you don't have the consistent support and accountability by someone who knows what the fuck they're doing, and where you also have the accountability as well, you will quit. It's not an you might. You absolutely will quit, because the brain gets so loud, because we can get so dependent on this external validation. Now, would you say, think of your favorite music artist? I'm just using Taylor Swift as an example because that's who pops in my head, even though I'm not a Swiftie literally whatsoever, but we're going to go with it. So Taylor Swift, if you're a Swiftie, and now I guess this latest album of hers I heard is not like doing very well, but obviously her last album was like bigger than the Beatles, or it was like some crazy landmark thing in all of history of music. So would you say because her new album didn't quite hit, oh, she's terrible. She's a horrible artist. She's washed up. She's done for. She's out. No, it happens to be that body of work didn't resonate as well as her big breakout. Well, of course, how is she going to keep topping her big breakout with the biggest tour that's made more money and has had more people at it, I think, than any artist in history, even like a Michael Jackson? She went into her stall period. That's why you'll see even movie stars, they will do a blockbuster movie or several movies and then they like disappear and they're like on a ranch somewhere for even like 10 years and then all of a sudden they pop back into Hollywood again. Not that it has to take that long for you. I do think that it takes that long for these people because of the insane level of quantum leaps that they experience. And the longer that stall period is, I do believe it's a direct correlation with the surge waiting for you on the other side, in my experience and in my experience with coaching people. So I ended up having to get an entire new team for my business, except for one person. This all happened, by the way, this year. It started happening at the end of 2024, not the stall in terms of external validation, but there were signs. People needed to be removed from my life. People were using me that I didn't think were using me. There were betrayal situations. There were red flag situations that had to be dealt with. There was lots of stuff coming up that I just thought were, okay, like, little things were not working as well on the Ferrari, but I'm like, oh, it'll be okay. It'll be okay. Maybe we call that denial. And then the clock struck midnight on 2025. We had the LA fires, and you guys know I'm based in LA, a total shit show. And my house that I call the quiet house is in the fire zone, and but not in the fire zone like Palisades fire zone, but it still is. Like, we're on watch. And all the collective energy of that, and then all the drama happening with the government and people's reaction to it, and the mistrust, and then the tariffs, and I could keep going. So you have all this stuff collectively going on while I'm in this stall period, and it is contributing to my fear, right? Like, of everything, like Chicken Little, like the sky is falling, because I'm an empath and a highly sensitive person. So I am picking up on my energy of my people I coach, people inside my ProjectME Posse business and money membership. You need to be in there. Also, that membership, so you know, is capped at an intimate size so that I can in integrity refer to it as a true group coaching membership. So this is not some membership where you get lost in it. We know when you're not there. That's why people stay in it for years. So if you go to the page and it says membership is full, we cannot add anyone else at this time. Okay. You can go to projectmewithtiffany.com/BF 2025 and take advantage, because I don't do anything like this all year. Okay. This is, if you've been thinking about joining this or working with me, this is a move regardless. It complements any of my other programs. So if you've done Selling with Soul, you've done Selling at Scale, you've done my Make More, Work Less program, even worked with me on a private level, this is something that works alongside with that. It's an accelerator. So look at it like that. But you can also go in there as an entry point as well. If you're like, listen, I want to see what this chick's all about. Yeah, because I've invested in other things before and I just want to, make sure this jives and blah, blah, blah. Then that's okay. You can do that. That's why I have the month to month. The annual membership is a much better deal. You save $250 and you also get my Nail Your Niche Masterclass, which is insane. And I don't make as much money off of you doing the annual. So it's not like there's any strong selfish benefit in me pushing you there, other than I want you to be committed to go all in for a year, because that is how you survive the stalls. The stalls are inevitable, but you have to set yourself up so your success is inevitable as well. And you have to be in it for the long game. So what would Taylor Swift go, oh God, this album didn't do well, I'm never putting out an album again, I'm never writing a song again, that's it. She might have behind the scenes a Polly Pissy Pants moment saying that, because me behind the scenes, I'm like, I'm quitting, I'm not doing this anymore. I pour my heart and soul out to everyone inside ProjectME, and I don't want to do this. This doesn't feel good. I had many moments like that, because our inner children, our inner teenagers get upset when the cookie is taken away. When it's the cookie jar, there's only one left. It doesn't feel good. And keep in mind, I was still making more money than I had ever made in my corporate job. And I had to remind myself of that because when we have success, our baseline for how we're doing, we can have it be so focused only on money and audience growth and all of these stats. Because when you have an online business or you have a brick and mortar business, right? It's like how many patrons are coming into the restaurant? What is the average sale per customer in our clothing store, in our beauty business? Like you do want to look at those things, but you also have to look at the other areas of abundance aside of that, of the brand, that in this case that I created, and that all of the energy and the heart and the soul and the time that has been poured into building this community and these platforms, that doesn't go away. That's still there, but things ebb and flow. And that's just how it is. I mean, even celebrity brands. I mean, I think J-Lo did a skincare line. I don't know if it was in 2023 or 2024. And I can't even remember it because they like buried it in the press. And it was in Sephora. It was a whole push for it. And it didn't make it. And this is motherfucking J-Lo. Okay? I mean, just like when you look at your favorite actors, they can put a ton of money behind a movie and have the best producers and actors, and it doesn't land for whatever reason at that time. And we have to trust that it's for a divine reason. But man, was I working through that. And that was also why it was happening, is that I needed to strengthen my faith muscle, faith in myself, faith in God, faith in the universe, faith in my angels, faith in what I've built. I needed to work through, obviously, that default setting of mine where I go back to Tiffany's bad. Tiffany did something wrong. Everyone's gone. I've ruined everything. The sky is falling. I'm a horrible person. I deserve to be punished. And it really showed me, even though I've done a million years of healing work and I do the deep work and all the stuff, those wounds never go away. They don't go away. We just have more tools to manage them. That's why even the top performing athletes, top CEOs, anyone who's truly a top tier talent that doesn't say that they don't have a team of advisors that they pay, that's just not true. They all fucking do. Even Warren Buffett has fucking a team of advisors. You have to, because you can't see the full picture when you're standing in the frame. It's hard to see your own shit. And you can get really high on your own supply when stuff is going really well, and you can kind of lose focus of nurturing the parts of yourself that still need nurturing when you're doing really well, but you're on this dopamine high. So like you kind of start blowing, I shouldn't say I started kind of blowing off some of my practices that I do in order to make sure that I'm right. And it'll come and bite you in the ass. It's like avoiding an oil change. You're like, oh, those tires can go a little longer. We don't want to have to do a pit stop and have to change those tires and lose seconds of time and potentially lose the race. We can keep going, and then a fucking tire blows out, and then you get in an accident, and not only have you lost the race, the multi-million-dollar car is now up in flames because you keep putting it off because the pain isn't there. You're in like pleasure territory. So there were so many things that I've had to work through to position me for my next level of growth. And because I am right on the edge of it, I have quantum leaped. I'm in the integration period, which I can do a podcast episode about if you guys are interested in that. I've done some content for it on TikTok. You haven't experienced, it's not like all the abundance comes flooding to you after you've quantum leaped. You have shifted into your new identity. And it's like entering a new job. Those of you who've had jobby jobs, and you are working at a new company, you know your skills, you know you're good at what you do. They fucking hired you. But you've got to learn how they work. You've got to learn the coworkers and like how people are and like the vibe and you kind of it's like nervous and you're not really sure and it can be exhausting. That's how it feels in the integration period. And that's where I'm at. But let me tell you, the humbling of a stall coming after the high is is no joke and not for the faint of heart. And you want to know what? The stall really does end up being the setup for your next level of success, but not if you don't take action on it, not if you don't work through it, not if you don't dig deep, not if you start playing scared. And what I mean by playing scared is I could have made choices to not go on the trip and take the hiatus that I needed. I could have made choices to not add people to my team to save money. I could have made choices to not have the coaching support and the group coaching support for myself. Oh, I need to do it for myself or just rely on my therapist or I shouldn't be spending that money right now. That is what is a normal thought to have. We go into constriction when we're in a stall. And it's the opposite of what we need. We need expansion in a stall. We're being called to expand, but your ego, that inner bully, is going to tell you, no, you can't. No, you shouldn't. You need to wait until you are back in a surge zone, back after you've timeline jumped. You need to wait until then. And that's what's going to fucking keep you stuck in the stall. And I've seen so many people, thankfully, they come to me where they'll be on like the private coaching application for my 2-month private business coaching, which is open for the last time this year, those applications. I only take 4 people at a time. And that link is also in the show notes when you swipe up and in the description on YouTube. That's the highest level way to work with me. And when people write on those applications, I waited way too long to get help. I was trying to figure this out on my own. I was mad at myself. I berated myself. I should be able to figure it out. I know what it is I need to do, but I just can't do it. And there's all this shame wrapped into it. And I wanted to wait until I was having more clients or bringing in more money, and then I can hire all the people I want to hire. Well, not when you're hiring the people that are going to show you and help you make more money and position you to bring in more profits, but we're not thinking clearly when we're in the stall. And that's also why we need that support. That's also why we have to have continuous support. That's why I created the Posse membership. So there's no excuse for not having continuous support for the life that you're building, the business that you're building, to be able to have that, not just on the strategy side, but the mindset side and the accountability side. Because also in the stall, when we're in fear, what do I say procrastination is? It's fear in disguise. So then we start procrastinating on things. We start delaying things. We start putting stuff off. And then that creates even more shame and that creates even more anxiety. And the stall can last a long fucking time. Hear me on this. The stall can even last years because you are not taking the contrary action to what your ego is telling you to do. And you can sit here and be listening to this and go, well, this is self-serving, Tiffany, because she's just saying this because it's self-serving, because she wants people to join her Posse membership. She wants people to join her other things, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, you could say that. That sounds like something your ego would say, self-serving, but I don't do anything that I don't encourage you guys to do. I have the same support. I could have not done my new program launch this year, selling at scale. I invested in ads. I went all out for that, and anyone who participated in that and is in that knows I could have easily said I'm not doing anything else for the rest of the year. I need to focus on focus on myself, and really convinced myself I need to focus on recalibrating my energy and my nervous system, and I don't need to be doing anything else, and that's okay, and I'll like pick it all back up in 2026. That's also your ego being cunning and manipulative, because you can do both. You can soothe and recalibrate your nervous system. You can do the money wound work while you are also taking action in a stall. And that's something that I kept doing. The actions were still being taken. Was it maybe as many at different times? No, but they were different. I had to shift my actions, but I was being called to. That's why it's a stall. And you know what? I've already seen just like coming out of this, but not fully out, just on the other side. I'm just the final refresh of the brand new car and the tires and the paint and everything. That has all been done, and I'm just starting to get back on the road, but I'm like trying to get used to the car and find out where all the buttons are, and it feels different. And it feels different in my seat, and I'm trying to figure that out. That's the period that I'm in. And if you relate to that, let me know. And I can already feel the difference in my body. Our brains will lie to us, our bodies will not. My body feels like it can exhale. My body feels a sense of grounded trust. I have a true surrender going on, not a half surrender, not a surrender on a contingency plan, but true surrender that I'm being guided. I'm going to another level. This is all here to serve me. This is all here for a greater purpose. And while I don't like a lot of it and it's humbling and it's uncomfortable, I am a humble servant of God. I am doing God's work. Whatever you believe God is for you, when you have such a desire on your heart and soul to do something, to share your gifts with the world, that's because it's your destiny. That's why you have it. It's not left you. That's doing the work of the universe. That's the universe and God working through us to help others. That's why I believe so many of us are being called to rise right now, because our world is very sick and needs healers and needs expanders and needs people who are the highly sensitives, the empaths, the different type of thinkers. Our world needs that now more than ever. And I am a humble servant, and I am willing to do what I need to do for the greater good, because it's not just about me. And it's certainly not about the number of fucking views. And it's certainly not about all the dollars. All of that will come. I'm always provided for. I always have been, because I always show up. Whether I'm in a stall period or I'm in a surge, I'm always here. Whether I'm in a shit mood or I'm in a great mood, I'm here. And anyone who's been around here for a long time can absolutely vouch for that with me. And I will be so excited, and it'll be so interesting to give an update, to give a chapter 5 of this. I'm bringing you up to date right now where we're at. And I'm in the period where I said, like, I'm getting used to that new car, but it has that new car smell, so I like it. And I also navigated all of this so I could be a better navigator for you. I don't know why that's making me cry, but a better navigator for you. And that's where the Profit Pit Crew came up, where I'm like, I want to take 11 people in a semi private, intimate container who are in the spot where they know, like, they need to do some recalibration and rework in the money area of their life, in the business area of their life. It's fitting with an old identity of theirs. It's not fitting with their new one. They know it doesn't fit, and we need to fix what's broken, and we need to do it quickly. It's a 6-week program. It doesn't need to take months and months and months and months when you have someone who's guiding you, who knows what they're doing, unless you decide to stay stalled and stuck in it. And if you're watching me on YouTube, like, block yourself off and go hide in a closet somewhere, and pull the covers over your head, which, by the way, I wanted to do many, many times. And there were days where I did do that, but I allowed myself to do it for like one day, or at night I would allow myself to do that. But then we have to show up again. If you truly believe that you're supposed to be doing the work that you're being called to do and help the people that you're being called to help, you have to show up, whether it feels good or not. That's part of it. And I'm supposed to be an example for you that someone just further ahead on the path. That's all. And now I can be even a better guide for you on how to go through those periods and set you up for the most incredible quantum leap that's waiting for you in your new identity. I love you so much. Wishing you great health, wealth, and worth as always. Make a move right now to give yourself the support. Take that contrary action. Join the posse, the Black Friday sale. Apply to work with me last time. I have my applications open this year. Okay. So I only take 4 people in there. And the Profit Pit crew for the semi private coaching application is also in the show notes. If you are like, I'm not sure which one to do, you can DM me on Instagram at ProjectME with Tiffany. And I will ask you a couple questions, which will help me determine right away which is the best move for you right now in order for you to get the results that you are looking for and have the best container and genuine, consistent support that you deserve. You deserve that. You deserve to have that momentum, the accountability, a beautiful support system in doing all of this. You no longer need to scrap it together and try to do it on your own. It's not really working for you. And it's okay if you need more support. That doesn't mean that you're weak or something's wrong with you or you're lazy or you have ADHD or whatever. No, it means that you're being called to get more support. That's what that means. It's as simple as that. Love you.